Oxygen levels.
Oxygen levels are at maximum.
Set a course for Dark Waters 9.
(1972) Untitled piece by Zdzisław Beksiński. This is a 1972 untitled piece by Zdzisław Beksiński. He painted what he saw in his nightmares, but he didn't find them grim at all. He thought his work was optimistic and even kind of funny. And he himself was kind, soft-spoken, and loved to laugh. But despite all that, his real life slowly started to look a lot like the paintings he made, which are perfect for this week's spooky series of haunted art.
Look at the, that's either a sword or an upside down cross. But judging how he's standing on it looks like skulls, I couldn't tell you.
Series of haunted art. Zdzisław Beksiński was born February 24th, 1929 in Poland. He studied architecture at Krakow Polytechnic and then went on to be a construction site supervisor, which he absolutely hated, so he started sculpting using leftover building material. After realizing how much he loved it, with no formal art training, he started painting as well. In 1964, he had his first big exhibition in Warsaw and every single painting sold. Overnight, he became one of Poland's leading contemporary artists. He described his work as photographing dreams, but those dreams looked like something between Silent Hill and Hellraiser. He refused to title or explain any of his pieces and said that the viewer should decide what it means. He hated silence while he worked, so he'd blast classical music and rock and even jazz. He said, "I have this need for music to smash and tear me apart." And that music allowed him to paint for 14 hours a day without any break, standing up the whole time. But despite all the loud horror on his canvas, he was actually quite shy. He barely even went to his own exhibits. He had OCD, he rarely traveled, and at one point he stayed inside for 2 years and wrote 40 short stories. But he then locked them away until after his death because he thought they weren't good enough. But in 1998, his life started to echo his art. His wife Sophia suddenly passed away, and a year later on Christmas Eve, his son took his own. Beksiński was the one who found the body. After that, he pinned an envelope to his wall that said, "In case I die." No one knows what was inside it, but it was like he could feel something closing in. On February 21st, 2005, Beksiński was murdered. He was 17 times by the teenage son of his longtime caretaker who had asked him for a loan. He was 75 years old. Today, several museums in Poland are dedicated to his work. Even Burning Man Festival built a Beksiński cross in his honor. He once said, "I paint what comes to my mind. I don't know what it means." And maybe that's why it still haunts us, because when we see how his life played out, maybe there was something in his subconscious that knew more than he thought.
I almost want to think a demon was inside him expressing itself by the look at all this different art. There's a couple of these, like this one would probably be my favorite. Definitely interesting. If you look at the trees, red trees in the back, you got the skeleton horse. One is just straight out terrifying, looking like it should be in hell. But if you ask me, a damn demon is inside him expressing himself. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. But hey, if somebody showed you something like this, what would you say it looked like?
This is coming right over our head. And my friend here from Johnson Space Center is here with me. And it's coming right over top. What do you say, Bob?
Thank you.
Amazing, huh?
But what is it, is the question. I know a lot of people theorize stars are angels. Could that be what this is? This is allegedly the Queen of the Tartars. Tell me she doesn't remind you of Princess Leia from Star Wars. They even still got the headpiece. What if Star Wars was trying to tell us something about the old world, Tartaria ways?
Are you still looking for proof that history's a lie? Well, look no further. Okay, so what if I told you a book that was written nearly 1,000 years ago contains astronomy, medicine, geometry, and even coded maps of the heavens. This is the Thorny Abbey book, created in the early 1100s, and it completely rewrites what we think we know about the so-called Dark Ages. Okay, stay with me with this one. We're taught that between the fall of Rome and the Renaissance, Europe fell straight into ignorance, you know, that people right then had no science, no medicine, no understanding of the cosmos. But this manuscript right here, compiled by monks in Cambridgeshire, proves completely otherwise. Now, this book is literally filled with texts, tables, and diagrams known as the computus, the art of reckoning time. Not just marking days on a calendar, but calculating sacred feasts, astronomical alignments, and even the cycles of nature itself. I mean, this book honestly implies that they had a knowledge beyond our belief. You know, just look closely at these charts. You'll see 4 classical elements, terra, ignis, aqua, and air, laid out in geometric precision. You'll see zodiac symbols, planetary cycles, and even something resembling sacred geometry. These monks weren't just scribbling prayers. They were encoding a system where astronomy, medicine, mathematics, and cosmology all intertwined into one diagram, you know, and Earth sits at the center with layers radiating outwards, a reflection of a geocentric worldview. And you know, in another you've got circular tables aligning letters, numbers, and celestial events, almost like an ancient encryption key, you know? Now, this is the bit that blows my brain. If manuscripts like this existed in the 1100s, then the narrative of the Dark Ages completely collapses. They didn't lose knowledge, they preserved it. They hid it in coded manuscripts, you know, disguised as religious works, whilst passing down ancient science through symbols and cycles. Why? Because controlling time means controlling power. Whoever fixes the calendar, fixes the feasts, fixes the rhythm of society itself. And whoever encodes the heavens encodes the story of creation. This wasn't just ignorance, you know, this was advanced knowledge hidden in plain sight. Knowledge of medicine disguised as pharmakeia, knowledge of the stars disguised as feast days, knowledge of the world disguised as scripture, you know. And today we're told that all of this is just medieval superstition, but when you actually look at the ancient diagrams, the geometry, the cosmology, it's very clear to me. They knew more than we're allowed to believe. I mean, the Thorny Abbey book is just one example, a 1,000-year-old reminder that history has been rewritten. What we call progress is often just rediscovery, you know? And the lie of the Dark Ages, it's proof that the real knowledge was never lost, it was only hidden. Because once you see it, you realize that history isn't what they told us, not even close. But obviously, for the sensory reasons, this was just for entertainment. I love you all, beautiful people. Don't forget to hit that follow button, and I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
One comment says, the Vatican hid thousands of those ancient books. Yeah? Another guy says, Dark Ages is when the Moors conquered those areas and brought their knowledge with them. They have inscripted their names into code. Once you wake up, you will see it.
I believe most of what we were told as fairy tales growing up holds more truth than the actual history they taught us. There is a reason, across many centuries, across many continents, our ancestors depicted the exact same creatures, from cynocephaly, blemmy, and of course unicorns, and much, much more. It is not some realm-wide hoax of the old world. It is the depictions of exactly what we saw. But it is not just the depictions that remain. First-hand sightings and even remains have been found all across this realm. Question everything, friend. I believe most of what we were...
The Romans who never escaped Heracleum. Or Heracleum, my bad. That looks more like a catacomb if you ask me. Are they really telling us the truth about this?
This clip from Oprah would never be played today because it's actually true. Listen to this.
You say one of the things that you should do is never eat with people you don't like.
Because your state of awareness will influence how your food is metabolized. There was a study done in Ohio State University where they were feeding rabbits diets that were extremely high in cholesterol. And they found to their amazement there was one group of rabbits that never got the high cholesterol levels. After a while, they found out that the technician who was feeding these rabbits, instead of just throwing the food at them, he would stroke them and pet them and cuddle them and kiss them and then feed them the same poisonous food. But now, as a result of that experience of happiness, they made chemicals inside their brain and the body that turned the cholesterol into a completely different metabolic pathway. So it's not just the food you eat, but what your awareness, what your consciousness and your state of emotions is at the time you're eating.
You eat to ease the stress.
Well, then
it turns into something else.
Yes, it's very important. In fact, one of the things I tell people is if you're not feeling good, skip the meal at that.
So two things. The cholesterol thing, we know that we may have been lied to about cholesterol. We're past that. But this is Deepak Chopra. And this guy, I mean, look up some of his works. He definitely has an important message to share. Usually now we see with the mainstream, Oprah, Dr. Phil and whatnot, not exactly the most intellectual guests, more of like just pure entertainment, whereas this is actually like intellectual, cool information. Yes, you should be in a heightened state of elation and happiness and whatnot when you're eating. And not only that, even preparing a meal. When you're preparing a meal, you can poison the meal if you're upset, flustered, and mad and angry while you're making it. It totally changes the molecular structure. This is why for thousands of years people would pray over their food. And seemingly many people don't do that anymore. But they should. We're going to talk more about this in part 2. If you want to see that one, comment for part 2.
That's why I always pray over my food. Sometimes I'll be a little bit too hungry and I'll bite into it and I'll be like, and then I quick hit my prayer. Then I go back and eat, but it changes the molecular structure. That is interesting.
Why does Ford have all of these vehicles stored underground at Subtropolis? And why this year vehicle? Why this year vehicle? Right here. Whatever years they are. Isn't that interesting?
What if this was a surplus and they put these underground to sell them in mint condition later on? Whoever has these, man, this is a hell of a car collection. But it makes you think, how did they get it underground? Who has them underground? So many questions. You guys already know what time it is. If you thought I didn't have another excellent specimen for you today, think again. All right, you guys see it. We have fluorite mineral crystal specimen. And it's giving me some, I want to hear your guys' names. What would you name this? But if I had to name this, I would call it petrified cheesecake raspberry. Because it does look like a cheesecake slice, if you ask me. And it's like octahedral raspberries on the top. Or I'm not really sure if those are octahedrals. Those are more looking like pyramid at a closer look. Like miniature translucent pink pyramids.
In this pit in Madagascar, this gentleman is about to find one of the rarest gemstones ever unearthed and cause a bidding war that would last 6 months. At first glance, this gem doesn't look like too much, but on a closer inspection, you're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, and more colors, all inside one incredible crystal. You gotta find the right cutter who can walk the fine tightrope between keeping this gem as large as possible while also retaining all of these exciting colors being displayed inside. With a gemstone like this, you get one shot. This is simply irreplaceable. One gemological unicorn. So the 9.5 carat raw crystal was sent to the gem city of Ratnapura to be cut into what would eventually become a 5.29 carat masterpiece valued at $35,000 per carat. We sent it to the world's most respected gem lab and they took one look at this stone and they give it the seal of approval. Natural, no heat, and listing each of the incredible colors locked inside. Let me know in the comments if you've ever seen a natural gemstone with as many colors as this world famous sapphire.
I almost feel like we have, but I could be tripping. This is an excellent specimen. Call it the rainbow stone.
There are vans driving around your city right now that can literally see through your walls and no one told you. They're called backscatter vans, and yes, they're real. These unmarked police vehicles are equipped with mobile X-ray scanners that can see through buildings, car doors, and even into your home from the street. You won't hear them, you won't know they're there, and they don't need a warrant. This isn't science fiction. The technology was originally designed for the military to detect explosives overseas. Now it's being used here on civilians with almost zero oversight. The vans fire bursts of ionizing radiation, the same kind used in TSA body scanners. But this radiation is mobile, more focused, and aimed straight through solid objects. No law requires police to inform the public. No study confirms it's safe. And there's no limit on who or what they scan. Privacy groups have warned for years this is warrantless surveillance on wheels. Your car, your home, your body, all exposed to invisible scans without your consent. And if it's already here, what's coming next? There are vans driving around your city right now.
I was going to say, this is, how can it drive around my city and this is looks like it's in Hong Kong? But they definitely could have some type of technology like this in the States. I don't deny it. So if you see a strange van outside your property, you better run up on it and make sure they don't got no type of electronics inside or something.
Y'all listen? Let me tell you something I wish somebody told me earlier. Finding a good mother for your kids is more important than finding a good-looking woman for yourself. Beauty fade. But how she raise them babies? That lasts forever.
I hear you, OG.
Y'all listen?
Talk to him, OG. Why awakening people can't find love?
I'm going to tell you something today supposed to be about. We even say it that way, don't we? I lost myself in her eyes. I was beside myself with passion. The language reveals the truth. Romantic love is about losing yourself, about abandoning the burden of being a separate individual, if only for a moment, in the arms of another. It's about merger, fusion, the temporary dissolution of boundaries, and it feels ecstatic precisely because, for a brief moment, you get a taste of what the awakened person knows all the time. That separation is an illusion, that we're all one thing looking at itself through a billion different faces. But then the moment passes and the boundaries snap back into place and you're separate again. And so you chase that feeling. You fall in love again and again, trying to recapture that moment of dissolution. You mistake. I'm going to tell you something today.
You know, when he was speaking about an awakened one, that made me think of this Proverbs. And it reads, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life." So if you ask me, it all boils down to who can find a virtuous woman and who can find a righteous man, because you're not living of this world. You're living in it. Or I could say at least trying to be righteous or trying to be virtuous. You know, everyone's on their own journey. All right, object seen during the amateur filming in Hong Kong. They definitely caught something, because you could tell that they're trying to film the festival, everyone having fun, and then he saw something in the sky. He was like, wait, what was that? And this dreidel looking UFO pops up. You know, this is before AI, so I think we got ourselves some authentic UFO footage here. And it just disappears out of nowhere. Now this is interesting. It looks like they hit it with the infrared as well. But this looks like that Tokyo UFO we were just looking at. Because if we go back, see how it has that yellow aura? You know, that yellow light about it? What's up with this? And the infrared shows it's like bright on the outside. And then the inside could be a lot colder, possibly, if it is a craft.
That's the lamp. That's the UV. That's the quartz crystal. But you're just carrying around the sun like that, which is really cool. It's a little sun in a box. And then you just expose yourself for about 3 to 10 minutes and you are supercharged, ready to go. We're missing the UV spectrum rather than the infrared spectrum. You always see like LED infrared bulbs, you know, blah, 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 which LEDs can't even produce the color red, but that's a whole nother story. But they're always trying to sell you red. They always want to give you infrared this and infrared this, and you need red, red, red. You need purple. That's what you need. You need the UV spectrum. The purple color spectrum is what's actually being missed from the body. So when you think about this, there's all this marketing on like LED infrareds, and if you get this infrared, you just blast yourself with these radio frequencies and whatever else, but really you need UV, you need the purple. You need the beautiful purple spectrum. That's what we're actually missing. And when we think about the quartz health lamp that I was just showing you, that's what that is, the purple spectrum that's coming off. The UV spectrum is the purple spectrum. And Dr. John Ott used to talk about that in Health and Light. UV spectrum, most important for the body.
I wonder how come they don't do purple light therapy. That's all we have for today's video. If you made it this far, the code word is love. Go ahead and drop love in the comments below. When you do that, that lets me know you're a real one. You really rock with me. You watch the videos to the end, and I just want to say thank you. I love you guys. I might be doubling up on you again tonight, so head over to Jet Ski Chuck. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications to all so you don't miss any of the action. And if you enjoyed this video, please a like and subscribe would be appreciated. This was the most mysterious TikToks on the internet today. See you later.